You know, if we're a people who are shaped by the gospel and informed by the gospel, we have to be a people of forgiveness. This is really what the gospel is about. God forgiving us at great cost to himself, so that when we've been offended, when we've been grieved or hurt, a gospel-shaped people extend the same forgiveness that we've received. If you think about it, there's no one who's offended us the way we've offended God, and yet God, in his mercy, in his grace, has chosen to forgive us by absorbing that pain himself, letting us go free. It's a beautiful thing that God's forgiven us, and it's even more beautiful when we put that same forgiveness on display in our horizontal relationships. St. Augustine said that resentment is like eating poison and hoping someone else will die. It's corrupting of our own hearts when we refuse to extend forgiveness to people. Not only does it not honor God and not put him on display, but it also eats away at our own souls, our own hearts. It diminishes us as people because it moves us further and further away from the image of God, who is forgiving. And I think it's sometimes even more difficult to receive forgiveness. The beauty of the cross is that God took everything I deserve, an eternity of what I deserve, and bound it up into one moment and poured it out on his son in my place, so that God is no longer angry at me. I'm not an object of his anger or wrath, but an object of his love and his favor. And to truly believe that means that I receive that. I really receive his forgiveness. And when I receive his forgiveness, the response is not, well, now I have to somehow prove to God that I was worth forgiving, which I think sometimes we have a tendency to do. We receive God's forgiveness, but then our response in being forgiven is to try to somehow earn that, is to somehow try to prove to God that we were indeed worth forgiving. But when Jesus encounters a sinful woman who received God's grace and forgiveness, he said this about her, is that the one who's been forgiven much loves much. When we've been forgiven, when we receive the forgiveness of God, it's not a response of working to prove that we are worth it. It's a response of loving this God who, for his own glory and by his own grace, has extended that forgiveness to us. So receive forgiveness. Walk in the freedom of forgiveness. Respond with love in your heart to God for the forgiveness that he's given you. And then put that same forgiveness on display in this world by extending it to those that have grieved and hurt you, that you might actually move forward in the image of God. And as you move forward in the image of God, move more and more and more forward into what it means to truly be human.